I had so many comments on my thyroid video, people wanting to know, how can I tell if my thyroid is okay? Well, I have a super simple test that you can do at home that can give you an idea about what kind of problems you might have. And then I'm going to go over what kind of laboratory tests you should ask your doctor to do to get more specific from there. But here's the general simple thing. First of all, you're going to take your temperature 3 times a day, at least 1 hour after you wake up in the morning. So later morning, early afternoon, and early evening. Those are perfect times to do it. Jot those numbers down and do it for at least 3 days. So you're looking for 2 indicators here. The first indicator is, am I maintaining 98.6 degrees or within 2 or 3/10 of a degree of that? Many people are running low at 97, 97.2, 97.6. I've even seen people in the high 96s. That is a low functioning thyroid. Now, why does that happen? So your thyroid is the thermostat for your metabolism, and it's exactly like a fire. Think about it like this. If you have the gas starter on your fireplace turned just right, then when you put wood on there, which would be like you eating food, the wood burns thoroughly and completely and creates heat, which is like your body temperature. Now, if it's tuned too high, the wood burns up too fast and you have too much heat. So you don't want it too high. That could be an overactive thyroid. What most people have, though, is an underactive thyroid. And that would be, you throw the wood on there, the flame's not high enough, so the wood doesn't burn that well. So you think of your food as the equivalent of the wood. Now you're gaining weight because you're not burning everything, efficiently. And then, of course, the heat that you throw off is not going to be as much. So you're looking over that 3-day period at what do your temperatures average. And like I said, if you're enough below 98.6, and I would say if you're like 98.2 or lower consistently, that's a sign that you could have a problem. Now, what we also see is people all over the map fluctuating. They might be 97.2 in the morning, they might be 98.2 in the afternoon, they might go back to 97.8 in the early evening, and they're just fluctuating all over. The temperatures are not consistent. That is more an indicator of your adrenal glands being able to maintain what we call homeostasis. So we're always trying to maintain balance in our body. And when you're looking at your thyroid function, it depends very greatly on how strong your adrenal glands are. And so if you have kind of low temperatures and then on top of that your temps are bouncing around, then you've got both thyroid and adrenals that need attention. So I hope this is very helpful for you. When you do this test and you see, oh my goodness, I think I have a problem here, then you can ask your doctor for the proper tests. Now, it's very difficult to get most physicians to run every kind of test that you really should look at. Your gynecologist, if you're a woman, is the most likely to be open-minded enough to run all of these tests, but run it by your doc. If you are not able to get this run, you can order it yourself on directlabs.com, and I'll tell you how. So here's what you want to get. TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, and that's what all doctors are going to run. Thyroid stimulating hormone is what your pituitary gland puts out to tell your thyroid to work harder. So the higher the TSH, the more sluggish your thyroid, and that pituitary is having to yell at it, to start, making some hormone here. If the TSH is too low, your thyroid might be producing too much hormone. So TSH is important, but it is not going to tell you all the intricacies about your thyroid. The range of TSH is really, really wide, 4.5 to 0.5. And most people feel they're best somewhere around 1 to 1.5. So you can see you could be within the normal range and still be wildly off base, from where you should be. So you have to look at some other numbers. Personally, I like to look at both T4 and T3. So T4 is what your thyroid gland produces. It's 4 molecules of iodine hooked together called T4, and that's what you produce. And then your body, mainly through your liver, will pull one of those iodines off, recycle it back to your thyroid to be used again. That turns your T4 into T3. T3 is actually your active thyroid hormone. That's the one that regulates your metabolism. Now, I like looking at free T4 and free T3 because those are not bound together with a protein in your bloodstream. They're available for use. Then the next two things you need to check are things that almost no doctor runs, but in my book, they're the most important, and that is the thyroid antibodies. So you have anti-thyroglobulin antibody, and here, wait a minute. I have a little brain fog from being exposed to mold. So it's TPO, anti-thyroglobulin. This is crazy. Why can I not think of this? Thyroid peroxidase. Yes, okay. You have 2 antibodies that need to be tested. Thyroid peroxidase antibodies and anti-thyroglobulin antibodies. If you can't write that fast or you don't, remember what these words are, just comment thyroid and I will message you the list of tests that are important to get. But those antibodies would indicate that you have an autoimmune thyroid issue where your own immune system is attacking your thyroid. So those are the very basics that I like to see. Vitamin D is very important because it has to do with all your hormone function, including your thyroid. But you can do that simple temperature test as a first step and just let yourself know, is there a there there, that I need to look further at. I hope this has been helpful. There you go.
Good. Do you have I know you've done it before, but just 3 tips to aid the thyroid, whether that be diet? I know sleep is one.
Yeah, sleep for sure. Nutrition. It's not quite cut and dried because it depends on if you have antibodies or not. But I'll go ahead. So, all right. What if your thyroid tests come back abnormal? And I'm going to talk about a hypo or low functioning thyroid here. Hyper functioning thyroid is a completely different beast, and it does require detoxification of the body. It's not as simple as the low functioning thyroid. So if your thyroid is low functioning and you have antibodies that have tested positive, then number one, you have to get gluten out of your life. Nobody likes to hear that. Okay, sorry, but gluten, which is present in all your wheat products and oats, if they're not specifically gluten-free, and also barley has gluten. But gluten triggers an autoimmune response. So if your thyroid antibodies test positive, you do not want to have gluten. The other thing is iodine. You'll see a lot of people talk about iodine to support thyroid health, and they're totally right. The question is, if you have thyroid antibodies and you start taking iodine, or I prefer seaweed, frankly, a food source of iodine, but if you start taking seaweed or iodine and you have thyroid antibodies, it can trigger them to become more active. So it's very important, if you have antibodies, don't start with seaweed or iodine. If you don't have antibodies, that's a great place to start. Regardless of whether you do or do not have antibodies present, selenium is a good support for your thyroid. You don't need a lot. You could have a couple of Brazil nuts, 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week, or you could take a low dose selenium, supplement if you don't like Brazil nuts, and that will go far as well to help you with your thyroid.